Welcome to this really special episode. I am so delighted to be able to participate in the third annual Podcastathon. This week in March, around the globe, more than 1,500 podcasters will highlight a charity of their choice. And today, I have the honor of welcoming my friend Sharon from Connor's Kindness Project onto the show. And because I know you listen to learn more about how to improve your websites, we're going to do a fun twist on this interview. I'm going to chat with Sharon, learn more about this amazing organization, Connor's Kindness Project, and then we're going to do a little mini audit of her website for the organization. So let's get into the episode. Welcome to Website Design Made Simple, the podcast for busy small business owners who want a high-performing website that converts and sells their offers, even while they're sleeping. Because you deserve to have a strategic and beautiful website that truly represents your brand and positions you as the expert that you are. I'm your host, Jenny B., web designer and creative director at Jenny B Designs, where we believe that your website is the one thing that makes you sales and builds your brand at the same time. Ready to say goodbye to a website that you're embarrassed to share? And hello to a money-making, personality-packed powerhouse? Let's head into today's episode. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining us today for a really special episode. I'm excited to have my friend Sharon here from Connor's Kindness Project. A little backstory, Sharon and I met at the Women's Business League, a networking group that we're both in the fall. And when I learned about her organization, I just knew I wanted to be involved. Kindness has always been one of my values, something that I hold really close to my heart, and I try to incorporate that in my everyday life. And so I was excited to learn about Sharon and Connor's Kindness Project. And I've even gone to volunteer with my family, which was such a wonderful experience. And so I'm happy to have her on the show today as part of Podcastathon, where we share about organizations that we really love and want to share with others. So welcome, Sharon. I'm so happy to have you here, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about Connor's Kindness Project.
Oh, thank you, Jenny. I am just thrilled to be here. When we met, it was a fantastic day, getting to know all the great women, but then having that special connection where you actually, took the time to come to our organization with your family. That made me want to do anything that I could for you as well. So thank you for having us. I'd like to just share a little bit about Connor's Kindness Project and, how it started and where I think it's going from here. So it was the middle of COVID. It was 2021. I was sitting around with my then 11-year-old grandson, Connor, and his parents were working. So I had a lot of time with him. He was learning via Zoom. We all learned to do that relatively quickly. And he was doing okay, but I was still, at grandmother's instinct, just checking with him. How you doing, buddy? And I probably said it one too many times because finally he looked at me and said, Nana, why do you keep asking me? I'm good. And I said, well, Connor, I said, there are some children that just aren't doing well with being home and, being isolated, and not being able to socialize. So he said, let's do something. And that's where we started. So we started with little yellow care bags that we passed around our neighborhood and in our community of Linfield. And then, he started to feel really good about that. And, you're home, you're bored, right? So it started to take off a little. So we decided the next thing we were going to do was work with healthcare workers because that's my background originally, working in healthcare. So we made big care baskets for doctors, nurses, really just anybody. And I think it was about 12 nurses in our community brought them into their workstations. And we got pictures of handwritten notes from the nurses, just, and doctors and just everybody just thrilled with what we were doing, recognizing their hard work. Then we did police and fire. And then Connor wanted to do more. So I told him to go online and research. He did. And he came back with 2 nonprofits that we then worked with. And then we decided from there that, we were just going full steam ahead. And, Connor had been bitten by the community service bug, I guess I would say. And, from a young age, his mom did have him involved in things like Special Olympics, Cradles to Crayons, etc. So I think it came maybe a little easier for him. And we developed our product, which is a kindness kit. And a kindness kit is filled with top quality trending toys that are meant to comfort children in vulnerable and challenging situations. And that could be anywhere from a hospital, a shelter, We have worked with bereavement centers, DCF, etc. So from there, the project just kept growing, and that's where we are today.
That is an amazing story, Connor and your whole family. It's so powerful, and I love what you have achieved and your mission. I'd love to ask, is there a story or a person that kind of sticks in your mind and in your memory, and what made their story special?
Oh my gosh, there are really so many. I mean, if we want to step back to what I was just talking about, as I said, well, now he's 12, right? And we start a real Connor's Kindness Project. And we were at the beach and he was going to have a lemonade stand because he was going to support his kindness project. So we set up a stand down at our beach, and it's not our beach, it's just where we go. And he sold, oh gosh, he made a list of things he wanted to sell. And he actually, made a little handwritten menu of what things cost. And he said to me, Nana, we have to take Venmo. Nobody at the beach has money. So I said, okay, you're right. So, I mean, he was already thinking pretty smart. So he was sat there all day, and I make beaded bracelets. It's just a thing that I do. And he even sold those. So everybody was just supporting him. Number one, you don't really see a lemonade stand on a beach that often, right? So that took off a little bit. People just asking him questions. He had a kindness kit out, and it went on all day, and people were just, flocking to him. So at the end of the day, he said, Nana, I hope I did good. And I said, all right, well, I think you probably did okay. Now he hadn't counted a penny yet, right? And this woman came walking up and she said, hi, Connor, I've never met you, but I have seen you sit here all day. And I'm just curious if you want to tell me a little bit about your project, because I've heard a lot of people, talking about it. So he proceeded to tell her, and her name was Joyce. And what happened next was like pretty significant. So she said to him, how much do you think you made? And he said, well, I don't know, but I hope I made $250. And she said, well, I'm going to match that. And Karna just looked at her like he had no idea what she was talking about. So I said, do you know what that means? And he said, I don't. And so Joyce proceeded to tell Connor what a matching gift was. And that was a big moment for us, because that was when Connor really just looked up to somebody like, wow, somebody really believes in me. That's a lot of money. And so at the end of the day, when he counted his money, he had made over $250. But, I think he made about $700. So we did it again. And, and really, partly because Joyce kind of gave him the confidence that this was working, right? And other people would continue to support his effort. So I think I don't know, that's a pretty big moment for us, for Connor.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
And there's
fantastic.
a lot of little stories like that, truthfully, Jenny, but that was probably the first.
Oh, I love that story, and to give that validation and that encouragement. Yeah, that's wonderful. Oh, so Sharon, I mentioned earlier that my family and I came to volunteer.
Mhm.
Tell us how, if someone was inspired by Connor's story and the organization, how can they get involved?
Well, they can look on our website, which is www.cornerskindnessproject.org. And the minute you click on it, you'll see a picture. We'll talk about that in a minute in our website. But there is a picture of Connor with a kit. There is a button to donate, number one, and to volunteer, and then one for our events. If you hit the volunteer button, it will take you to an Evite page. So it's a calendar that you can select days or times to sign up. And that's been very successful for us. And if something there doesn't work, people can reach out to us and we can make something happen. We also do team building events for corporations, so that doesn't always fit into our regular schedule. But having 3 years later, 15,000 kindness kits later, plus an added program, the Kindness Club, we're always looking for help. We need help with deliveries, assembling kindness kits, opening inventory, counting inventory, and the list goes on. So there's many talents that people have out there that they can bring to us. So we welcome anyone.
And I love that, and I will say, having younger children under the age of 10, it's hard sometimes to find volunteer opportunities for them to get involved. And you open your arms to us, and it was great to have a place for the younger kids to volunteer. So that's something to mention too.
Thank you. And you're not the first person to say that. People I've had, I think a family came and they had a 4-year-old, and it's fun to watch. It's family friendly. Teenagers can earn community service hours, but no, to have a whole family come and see those young kids, that are starting to get involved, because that's what we did for Connor, right? You teach them young, and you hope that that stays with them.
Yeah. Awesome. So Sharon, let's pop over to your website. And I thought maybe we could have like a short little chat since everyone listens to the show to learn about website design. I figured we could
Okay.
go right over to yours. So let me share my screen.
Okay. Thank you.
My first question to you is, if you were to have your dream website and it was working how you wanted it to be functioning, what would it be doing for you? What would that look like? Quick question. Are you frustrated with your website? Not sure why it isn't converting? I would love to help. That's why I offer my website coaching calls. In just 50 minutes, we'll uncover what's holding your site back and create a plan to fix it. Whether you need help with design, content, or strategy, I'll give you the clear steps to move forward. Click the link in the show notes to book your coaching call today, and let's make your website your best marketing tool. Now back to the episode.
We want to share awareness of everything that we do, and there's a lot. So we would have to really kind of make it so that people saw all the opportunities. And that's why, right away when you go to our homepage, donate to help us spread kindness, our events and volunteering. Those are probably the three most important things, right? Because even when we reach out to somebody for a donation or a sponsorship, they may say no. But guess what? They've seen our website. And so that's raising awareness. And now they've heard of Connor's Kindness Project. So I think it's important to make that first good impression and let them kind of get the vibe or feeling of what we're about.
I agree with that. And is there anything that you're struggling with your current website? Any challenges?
Oh, I just look at it sometimes and I just feel like it could do more. And sometimes I'm not exactly sure what that more is. But to have a professional like you look it over, you've seen many websites, you've designed websites, so to have that knowledge and expertise kind of, just pick a few things that, we should be doing better. I mean, I will say, I think we should probably switch our photos out a little bit more often than we do. Um, I don't know if that makes a difference, but we try to keep up to date. And I don't know if we have all the right material in the tabs, our story and then the drop downs, etc. So because first impressions are everything. So when somebody looks at this, I want them to see, our branding, our colors, our vibe, our kindness vibe. And, the picture of Connor and myself on one side, I want a better picture there. Every time I look at it, I'm like, we could do better than that. But it shows that, it's Connor and myself. I mean, he's so much older and many, many inches taller than when he started. So it's good to tell that story too, I feel.
I do too. What I'm hearing from you is that you don't know, you wanted to do a little bit more for you, but you don't know what that is. And I find you're in a position that a lot of businesses and nonprofits get to, where you start somewhere and then you start growing and you add to it and add to it. And then you've got to this place where you have a lot of different information, but somehow it's kind of like pieced together. And so it's kind of maybe time to take an overall comprehensive look at everything, see what fits and where you want people to go. I love your branding. I think your branding, so when we say branding, like your logo, your colors, I think it's such a fun vibe to it. And I think that it goes along with Connor and the kindness. And like you said, when you land on your website, first impressions count. I think you're doing a great job with the most important things that you want people to do, to donate, to volunteer. And you have a cornhole fundraiser coming up in, is it May, June?
Yes, maybe.
May. So if anyone's around here and they want to go to a cornhole fundraiser in May.
Run by, it's super fun.
And I think when you land, like you said, like you and Connor are a big part of the organization. It might be, and Connor, for everyone who's listening, Connor's holding a kindness kit, one of the kits.
Correct.
It might be really powerful to have an image of you and Connor actually delivering the kits to some of your recipients, to actually see it in action, like to see the benefits that you're giving to the community so that when someone lands there, they can see all the children that the lives that you're changing. And you have on the words, help us spread kindness, which is your mission. And it would be great to be able to maybe add a little bit more. Like you're not just, spreading kindness. Yes, you are, but how are you doing that? Like your kindness is changing everything and you're sharing these kindness kits and these youth empowerment programs to bring joy and kindness to children. Maybe sharing a little bit more about the results that you're giving to the kids when someone lands there. So someone can know immediately, like, what you're doing and all these initiatives that you're involved in. What are your thoughts on that, adding a little bit more to the landing?
I like that idea, actually. Never really thought about it.
So people can, like, know right away, like, you have kindness kits and you have these initiatives instead of, having to dig a little bit to understand how you actually bring kindness. You can kinda hit them with it, with the images and the words right there. And having those easy access, like, you have the buttons there, so I think having the buttons right under the words, volunteer, donate, attend the next event, like, I think that's important when you land too, because for nonprofits, it's a little bit harder than a business because you do have multiple calls to action. You want people to do different things. In a business, usually it's just a singular thing. So maybe having a little bit more when someone lands to give them a little bit more of a sense of feeling of what you do and create that emotion could be a good thing to add.
That's a good point. Thank you. I wrote that down.
Yeah. And then just going over to your navigation. Like you shared a little bit, you've got all the things where you want people to have easy access to how they can get involved. Right now you have, our story, meet the team, support us, our kindness initiatives, and contact. One of the things I always say is less is more when it comes to the navigation. The fewer the options, the less people have to actually use their brains to think about what you want them to do. Perhaps maybe streamlining that a little bit, thinking about making it a little bit more concise and maybe starting with get involved for one of your drop downs instead of having it client facing, like instead of saying support us, talk to the people who are visiting you and say get involved. You're speaking to them, you know, and having volunteer corporate involvement, because you mentioned corporate involvement, they can donate items to the kits, the in-kind items, events, merchandise. Maybe doing something like that. Get involved. Then maybe how we help. You've got our kindness initiatives. Perhaps simplifying that, how we help, or, kindness initiatives works too. I always like to think simpler is best.
Yeah.
Can someone immediately understand when they land there? And then you can share about the ways that you help people, the kits, the clubs, and things like that.
Okay.
And then perhaps just consolidating like the our story and meet the team, just having like an about tab. Then if you do it that way, you just kind of have three ways that people can start their journey of getting involved with you, and it streamlines it a little bit. Just some
Right.
ideas for the navigation, 'cause it gets to be a lot and people get tired and they like our brains, and so it's nice to simplify as much as possible.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. And now that you're saying that, like, should like the our story or whatever we change it to be the same colors as like the green, so that it kind of all goes together.
Yeah, if you're talking about like the branding, yeah, I'd
Yeah.
love to see some fun colors or even the blue because you've got green in the hero section with your buttons.
Yeah.
Maybe you could do a little bit of blue. You could play around and see what works, what looks best on the white background for accessibility for reading wise. But even matching like in the logo, you've got helping kids in need in blue in the uppercase.
Uh-huh.
You could match that for your, navigation. So you could do uppercase blue, and that might have a little bit of punch and fun and help it be a little bit more direct people into what to do.
Yeah.
And when you think about, like, that landing, you have that donate button. Does that bring people to donate? Okay, I like that. What you might be able to do, and I don't know, it depends on your theme, but you might wanna remove the shopping cart and the 0 items if you can. Like, everything just takes one step back and remove the social media icons too.
Okay.
I always say this because when someone's on your website, you want them to take the action. You don't wanna send them over to social media where it becomes a black hole and you're never gonna see them again. They're gonna get lost. So save the social media icons for the footer and make sure that they're linked up there. But in the header, you want to drive people to the action that we want them to take, to get involved, to donate, to attend an event. So just like really streamlining that landing could maybe guide people on an easier journey to getting involved with you. Yeah, good. And one other thing I wanted to share with you, so just kind of doing like a little snippet, is that you have so much good news. Like yesterday on social media, I just saw that you were awarded a check from the Woburn Chamber of Commerce, and Connor actually was the award recipient at one of their recent galas. I saw it on social media. I would love to see it on your website in the form of like a blog post or a news story. I'm not sure if you did a press release or anything like that throughout the community. I'm actually going to do a press release after our podcast here to share. But a nice thing that you could do would be to, if you were going to go through the effort of issuing a press release, then perhaps repurpose that into a blog post for your website so that that story can live on versus just having it appear in social media and then, going away. Anything that you repurpose onto your website and content, it stays there forever and it can live with the organization. That might be a nice thing to add some more blog posts and stories that you can have as you get more news.
I will need to talk to you further about blog posts.
Yeah, it's just a good way to repurpose because I think you have even newsletter. So you have your old newsletter versions on the website.
Mhm.
And I find you should check your statistics, see how many people are actually going to read the newsletter. Perhaps instead of having these newsletter pages, you could repurpose the newsletter stories into their own blog post or create a blog post for the newsletter and then like expand upon it a little bit. Just trying to use whatever you can, stories and content to drive people to the website to get that traffic and to share the word out.
Okay.
Yeah. Those would be my, like, 2 suggestions on things that you could do to streamline your website. Any questions or any thoughts about anything?
No, I think it's all fantastic ideas.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you. So thank
Okay.
you so much. I think, number one, the easiest thing to change is the navigation bar right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, blue, right? Okay.
Yeah. Make it a little bit and wherever you can, incorporate that branding because your
Right.
branding's so fun, and it would be nice to see it a little
Yeah,
bit.
we worked really hard on that. So that
Mm.
a lot of people comment on that as well. And we love our colors, we love our logo. It all seems to work well for us. So I don't think we need to do much with that. But like you said, use it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right.
Good.
No, that's all great. Thank you, Jenny.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Sharon, so much. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me about Connor's Kindness Project, and I encourage anyone to go check them out on their website, connorskindnessproject.org, to learn more about how you can get involved with this amazing organization. And thank you so much, Sharon.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jenny.
And that wraps up this really special episode as part of Podcastathon. If you've enjoyed what you listened to, feel free to go and visit podcastathon.org, and you can discover hundreds of other organizations through the voices and talents of other amazing podcasters. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.